And NCACC said, that's something we must trace once that camera.
Deputy Speaker, panic has set across the world countries with some of the strongest health systems. The coronavirus has led to near collapse of global markets, which have suffered losses akin to the 2008 global financial crisis. It is clear that the world is gripped with fear as 81 countries have confirmed cases of those diseases, that the first case of coronavirus has been confirmed. Countries have gone into crisis mode, imposed travel bans, and enforced quarantine measures as they try to valiantly contain this virus. The disease attacks countries across the globe. Therefore, we must understand the inherent weaknesses of the South African health system. We should never unjustifiably spread fear. However, we should prepare for the worst. We know the state of our healthcare outside of an epidemic outbreak. It is therefore not unreasonable to question our abilities in the absence of concrete plans to deal with the potential public health crisis. This is why the DA has called for this debate of national importance. Deputy Speaker, Parliament needs to assert itself as the main legislative arm of the state. We need to understand the role that is bestowed to us by the Constitution and to take it seriously. In the midst of an epidemic that has been declared by the World Health Organization, plans to deal with this crisis should be tabled in this House for scrutiny, for discussion, and for adoption. It is important that when the President convenes an interministerial task team that decides to repatriate over 150 South Africans from Wuhan, China, the decision is tabled, is scrutinized, and adopted by Parliament. It does not bode down well for the function of this House, which is enshrined in our Constitution, that the issues of national significance are discussed in the press before the oversight arm has had an opportunity to engage these plans. The fact that the President has notified Parliament of this government's intention after the story was published undermines accountability and oversight. With that being said, this is not the time for executive arrogance. It is also not the time for decisions which are bound to affect 57 million people to be made under the veil of secrecy. It is, however, time for united and decisive leadership. If we get this wrong, there will be preventable loss of lives. Deputy Speaker, there comes a time in any country where we have to set aside politics for the benefit of all our citizens. And that time is now. The coronavirus is a public health emergency that has the potential to infect and kill thousands should the correct measures to screen, to prevent, to isolate, and treat be inadequate. And that is why the South African government should use this opportunity to take the nation into its confidence and table those plans here today. As a priority, Minister of Health, Dr. Mkhize, needs to appraise this House on the measures that his department has already started to take to screen, to test, to possibly isolate and treat cases, particularly at every airport, at every harbor, and at every border post. We no longer can afford to just target certain areas. As the disease spreads rapidly across the globe, people that are at risk are no longer just coming from certain parts of the world. There are now 8 confirmed cases on the African continent which emanates from various parts of the world. We need assurance that the sufficient resources have been allocated to conduct this mammoth task. We also need to ensure that our healthcare workers are supported during this strenuous time. We extend our deepest gratitude to all healthcare workers for the work that they continue to do at every point that they are stationed at. A country is only as resilient as its workforce. The DA will certainly be undertaking to do numerous oversight visits across the country to ensure that the protocols that have been developed and tabled in this House are indeed being implemented. Minister Mkhize, Much to your frustration, sir, the members of this House across all party political lines have a role to play. We have a responsibility to the people of South Africa. The healthcare facilities which have been identified as centers of treatment for this epidemic should be revised as the risk has now increased exponentially. As an example, Tembisa Hospital, which saw the death of 10 babies due to a hospital-acquired infection, should not be part of that list. Speaker, there is no room for errors. Deputy Speaker, an epidemic of this magnitude requires planning and precise execution. That is why the DA is calling for the revision of the facilities which have been selected for this purpose based on the capacity of each and every health facility. Thirdly, dealing with the coronavirus transcends the Department of Health. It requires a whole society approach, and that is why we are also calling on the public and the private sector to collaborate on efforts to curtail the spread of this epidemic. There will come a time where extra capacity is needed, whether it be in laboratories, in isolation treatment facilities, or long-term resilience strategies. Every player in this field must report for duty. The entire South African government needs to construct plans on how they plan on dealing with the knock-on effects of an outbreak of this kind. Local transport routes, major events, the ability to attain certain medical supplies in the world, in places in the world that have shut down, are just some of the elements which need and require urgent attention. This past week, it's been announced that 150 South Africans are coming home. A mission of this magnitude and a decision has far-reaching consequences. And so, the Minister, I hope that when you come up here, you will tell us whether or not when this mission is going to be undertaken, what arrangements have been made for those who will be landing in the country, how will the quarantine element that is to be carried out by the SANDF work, what is the readiness of each and every department in the interministerial task team in terms of executing all of their plans. And also, regardless of whether or not you will divulge the details of where people will be kept, we need to be assured of the suitability of the facility so that we can make sure that basic human rights are upheld. We can ill afford mass panic and the rise of fake news, and the only way we can beat that, Minister, is if we fill the vacuum, as you have demonstrated this afternoon by providing accurate and the most updated information. Our assurance to the people of South Africa is this. The DA stands ready to support the efforts of this government to deal with this epidemic. We would do so for the people who have elected us to serve them. However, our support to you is conditional. We will not abdicate on our responsibility to hold this government to account. Every possible precaution must be taken to prevent a breakout and spread of the coronavirus in the country. And when the time comes, as we have heard this afternoon, that there may be South Africans who have contracted the illness, swift and meticulous action must be taken, as I'm sure you will announce later this evening. I have watched with great disappointment leaders across the globe tear each other apart as they seek to weaponize and politicize this issue. We dare not let our citizens down by doing the same. History will judge us harshly if we do so.
Honorable Dromo, the chairperson of the Health Committee.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Ministers, Deputy Ministers, all members of Parliament present here, abahlali base South Africa siyanibingelela. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention defines public health as a science of protecting and improving the health of people and their communities. This work is achieved by promoting healthy lifestyles, research disease and injury prevention, and detecting, preventing and responding to infectious diseases. In South Africa, in the South African context, the aforementioned is true given the role and the success of the National Department of Health, which is constitutionally tasked to ensure health for all South Africans. In fulfilling this responsibility, the National Department of Health foresaw a need and established the National Institute for Communicable Diseases, a division of the National Health Laboratory Services through the Act of Parliament, known as the National Health Laboratory Services Act No. 37 of 2000. South Africa's investment in its public health system is evidenced in the foresight and the critical role of the National Institute for Communicable Diseases, which serves as a national resource of knowledge and expertise on communicable diseases, not only to our country, but to the countries of the Southern African Development Community region, as well as to the rest of African continent. Importantly, the NICD assists in the planning of policies and programs to support and respond to communicable diseases. In 2017-2018, South Africa experienced an outbreak of listeriosis arising from food contamination from 2 food processed meat companies. The success of the NICD provided its superior technical advantage and laboratory infrastructure to overcome the spread and provide conclusive evidence of the source of the outbreak. In the same vein, during the Ebola outbreak in the West African countries, South Africa was the first country to go and assist with the intervention. This is one of the scientific acumen of South Africa's health infrastructure that has provided valuable service to people of West Africa. In anticipation of the arrival of the novel coronavirus, the National Department of Health has embarked on an important measure for preparedness to deal with the outbreak. These were preceded by the growing numbers of infections in China and other countries. Post the World Health Organization's declaration of coronavirus as a global health emergency, the National Bureau of Health announced the designated hospitals in all provinces for responding to the outbreak. The nature of the operations of this unit is a health matter, but has got components of security, diplomatic relations as a national key area. It is commendable that no province resisted when 3 years ago the responsibility of port health was taken away from provinces and is at the national. The Portfolio Committee of Health will be visiting OR Tambo Health tomorrow to observe how they conduct operations in that area. We appreciate Minister Mkhize's facilitation with AXA. Ungakuhle ukuthi siqale ngokubongela kuNgqongqoshe uMkhize ngokusukumela lo daba ngalendlela uholo alwenze ngalo noholo ke olwenziwe ngumongameli Babu Ramaphosa necabinet yonke liyancomeka. Sibhekene nembedukwazi wesifo esithiwa iCovid-19. Kodwa ke abaningi basibiza ngokuthi coronavirus. Ngomhla ka-30 January kulonyaka, inhlangano yezizwe ezempilo nayo yakhipha isiqondiso ukuthi sisukumele lesifo njengomthwalo wonke amazwe. Sishake lesi sifo ezweni lonke. Isidleke saso siseChina. Siphepetheka komlilo wequbula nakwamanye amazwe anjengo South Korea, Italy. Siba nengcindezi ke kakhulu lesifo kubantu aba very young, izinganeni, abantu abadala kakhulu, nakubantu abanemizimba yabo ebuthaka ngenxa yezifo ezikhona njengo cancer, abadla imishanguzo yezifo njengo HIV, abangena emshinini mhlambe kanye kabili ngeviki beyokwenza dialysis. Noma isiphike isifo esifika emzimbeni sisisha, umzimba usuke ungekabi nazo izihlunguzo zaleso sifo. Kusinda bakagwala. Masibalekelele lesifo ngokuthi siqikelele ukuhlanzeka kwethu. Abathimulayo, abakhwehlelayo, mabangavele nje basakaza amagciwane abo noma kanjani. Beka iduku, noma isandla, noma ushaye endololwaneni inqiniba. Masigeze izandla hayi nje kuphela uma siphuma endlini yangasese, kodwa kube isiqhwele sijwayelekile leso. Zoncipha kakhulu izifo esithathelanayo ngalolu hlobo. Awukabikho komjovo walesifo. Ngakho ke ufuna siqiniseke ukuthi singasingeni. Sizuleke sebekile umhlonishwa uGwaqube uzazogcizelela ungqongqoshe ukuthi sekukhona othintekile. Sibonga nokuhulumeni ngendlela ayenze ngayo ukuvimba ema-airport kuma seaport abangena ngezinyawo bonke abantu nokuthi bahlale lapha bashaye uhide beze bathole usizo ukuze bangasheshe bangene singalizanga konke lokho. Kuyosiza ke ngqongqoshe uMkhize ukuthi uqhubeke nokusabalalisa imiyalezo efuna siyazi ngalesifo. Engathi ungaqina ke imiyalezo yexwayiso ukuvikela imiyalezo engelona iqiniso. Kodwa ke nathi malungu eParliament uma sithola ama fake news masiwathumele kulomnyango basiqinisekise ubuqiniso balo mbono ukuze nathi silekelele ukuthumela imiyalezo yeqiniso. Umongameli uRamaphosa wakhipha umyalelo ukuthi zamukelwe izicelo zabasemzansi abalapha eWuhan uma becela ukubuyela ekhaya abakangenwa ke nokho lesifo. Kufana nje nokuthi babona umlilo wequbula usha ngaphesheya komfula sebethi ke mabaqale baqaphele banyakazi. kubalekile ukuthi sigcizelele ukuthi noma befika la ekhaya ongobese othole oWilliams omkwena abaye emakhaya bazogcinwa endaweni lapho bezobhekwa khona izinsuku ezingama21 kuze kuqinisekiswe ukuthi akukho kubathintayo ngalesifo emva kwalokho ke sebeyovunyelwa ke ukuya emakhaya asikwamukele lokho bahlali baseningizimu Afrika iyona ndlela lezokwenza singabi nakungabaza ukuthi izinhlelo zonke ezimisiwe ziyasiza. It was a very heartwarming to receive a message on the phone yesterday from one of the good South Africans who wrote the following, and I quote, "I have just returned from a business trip in Italy and UK that was cut short due to COVID-19 travel restrictions. There were mandatory health checks at every airport I transited, but the health checks and sophistication of technology used at the Cape Town International Airport today raised the bar on every European airport I've ever encountered on this trip. Not to mention the professionalism and competence of the staff conducting these checks. Kudos, Team South Africa. Kudos, Cape Town International Airport." Noma ke ungabathanda ongqongqoshe bakahulumeni ophethe ngoba baka ANC kufanele kodwa nisebenzisane nabo ngiyabonga uyasho ke Honorable Gwagub. Le ndaba yokubuyisa abahlali baseningizimu Afrika baseChina umcimbi lo ophethwe iDepartment of Defense, iDeco, iHealth, iHome Affairs, iJustice. It's a military operation that has diplomatic processes. It is beyond the capacity of any one single member of parliament or a political party for that matter that is not in government to be able to conduct such an operation. There's only one commander-in-chief of the SNDF, and I'm raising this ngoba kuneqembu la ebelithembisa abahlali baseMzansi abaseChina ukuthi bazobalanda. Cha, izinhlelo ezinjalo zenziwa uhulumeni. Singabathembisa abantu into engeke sikwazi ukuyenza. Ukubuya kwabantu bakithi abaseChina kuzokwenziwa uhulumeni uholwa wongqongqoshe nobaba uRamaphosa. In conclusion, the Global Health Security Index for 2019 report revealed that South Africa is ranked number 34 out of 195 countries. It is ranked above average of most of the indicators used, namely the prevention, detection and reporting rapid response health systems and risk environment. This gives confidence that the South African government, through the National Department of Health, is doing all within its power to strengthen its health systems to safeguard the public from the outbreak of any other form of infections. Marumo fast, uhulumeni ukakhongolose uphethe, siyabonga.
Honorable Beckman.
On the 27th of January, DIRCO issues the following. "We are on a drive to inform people about the virus, but not telling them to avoid traveling to that country." Very diplomatic, but at that stage we are the only country with that message, probably paying credit to our relationship with China. Around that time, Ambassador Lin Songtian holds a press conference and fills a void left by our President and Minister by trying to put the minds of our country at ease, by assuring us that China has this under control and that the South Africans are being treated very well. It is at this stage that the DA, through the DA abroad, start getting frantic emails from concerned individuals who want to return, but they cannot get hold of DIRCO and all the SA missions. Some just want advice, of course. But it's very different to the pictures being painted in the press, so especially by our minister, who's on record stating, for example, on 702, that she has not heard of one South African wanting to return. To cut a long story short, we test the numbers at our mission, we test DIRCO's emergency number, we write a letter to the minister, I'm talking about my Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. We test DIRCO's emergency number, we write a letter to the minister calling for backup for the staff in China and offering our sympathies and empathy to the staff and all people in China. Unfortunately, we are politically ignored. However, it becomes suspiciously clear that there's another power at play. The Free State province is known to have an agreement with China around the training of medical students. A whole host of them return. Seems the Free States have facilitated some agreement directly with China. Suddenly, officials at DIRCO start cooperating with us to assist us in compiling a list of people to evacuate. We thank Ambassador Song Tian for his proactiveness, and we ask him to relay our message of hope that China can find a cure soon and that a sudden end to this tragedy is near. To South Africa, thanks for taking the bold decision for bringing our people back and for taking the necessary health and welfare precautions with them and us, before and after they return. To the first SA victim, we wish him a full and speedy recovery. To the Minister, the moral of the story is things can work so much better if we drop the arrogance and the aloofness and come together and work together. By now we should know that things should be controlled from this House and not the Free State. I thank you.
Honorable Chirwa.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Greetings to the CIC, Julius Lomalema, commissars and fighters. In a country like South Africa, where access to healthcare is drawn upon race, class, and gendered binaries, the threat of COVID-19 should have all of us concerned, as we can already tell who will experience the catastrophe on a greater scale, more so because the first case has been reported today in KZN. Minister Mzweli Kize is adamant that the Department of Health is ready to tackle the virus. We know that this is not the truth, as a mere seasonal flu in South Africa claims the lives of 6,000 to 11,000 people per year. If your department cannot contain a mere flu from claiming the lives of our people, when there are preventative measures through vaccines and primary health care, what will you do to contain coronavirus? Majority of South Africans still do not know what coronavirus is and are subjected to fear-mongering and lack of information, and yet we have a supposedly functional and prepared Department of Health to counter a virus that has destabilized some of the strongest health systems in the world. If coronavirus can make a country like China build a hospital in weeks and yet still claim thousands of lives, what do you think it will do to South Africa that takes 10 years to build one dysfunctional maternity ward? The very little our populace that has access to internet and social media are subjected to the ignorance of ministers who have no shame in wearing incorrect masks and tweeting about their ignorance with pride. But as usual, the EFF is very magnanimous with solutions, and we will share them with the department and the minister with the hope that you will put and prioritize the lives of South Africans before your
Point
ego.
of order.
Yes, Honorable
Deputy
Member.
Speaker, can the minister listen? And pay attention and listen. Eh? Please.
Honorable
We are giving
Ndlozi.
wisdom there. You are busy
Honorable
having a
Ndlozi.
chit chat. Please.
Honorable Ndlozi.
This is great wisdom. Listen.
Ntate Ndlozi, ke kopa ska ba ipita ntwe. Ha o ka ipita, o tla kopana le pela di falla ntate. Tswela pele mme.
We hope that the minister and the Department of Health will put the lives of South Africans first before your ego and the rush to claim non-existent easy victories like other ministers have done. The department must institute an immediate mass media campaign, this on radios, in clinics, schools, television, and do door-to-door. We know that this is possible because it is done during elections. The department and the minister, together with the Minister of Water and Sanitation, must devise an emergency plan on how to ensure that clean water is accessible to everybody. You cannot teach people about hygiene as a preventative measure when some of our clinics, hospitals, schools, villages, and townships have a water crisis at hand right now. Primary healthcare workforce, community healthcare workers must be trained for detection mechanisms. It will be a huge disgrace for the country that the very same people tasked with easing health catastrophes will also be at risk of infection and not be able to deliver primary health care. Infrastructural preparation must extend to all hospitals and not just 13 hospitals, Mr. Minister. People must not walk into our hospitals with physical injuries and live with tuberculosis and coronavirus, as is the case because of infrastructural inadequacies.
This is where we say goodbye to our SABC3 viewers. Of course, we continue to remain on Parliament.
entry testing posts we have are at airports. Majority of our people use alternative modes of transport, and our country borders don't start and end at OR Tambo International Airport. More so because the coronavirus is not contained by the imaginary borders. It was a huge embarrassment yesterday hearing the minister speak about the radio of the surveillance team and making an example of instances of infection being picked up at the airport and people being called if there's somebody who's infected on the flight. The question is, what tracking mechanisms has the department devised for townships and rural area public spaces? How will you track down taxi passengers and train passengers who were sitting next to an infected person? Pillar number 6 of WHO guidelines asserts that it is not just points of entry that must be prioritized and controlled and assessed, but also those areas that pose a high risk of transmission and infection. The minister must conduct a comprehensive stakeholders and community engagement plan of action to inspire and coordinate a multi-sectoral and multi-partnered intervention with the private sector, business, NGOs, agriculture, and travel and tourism. The department must also find out the possible monetary cost of dealing with coronavirus should it seep into the country. As we have learned today, it already has. Lastly, the entire country must be cognizant of the reality that such viruses are a bigger threat to the poor, who will not have the means to buy food in bulk and lock themselves in their houses. And that not everybody has the liberty to call in sick and take a day off at work because they have symptoms of flu and COVID-19. We have people who are exploited workers, and they do not have the liberty that most white and classist and rich people have. It is wise to hope for the best, but it is much wiser to plan and be ready for the worst, Mr. Minister. I thank you.
Honorable Flengwa.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, in the face of crisis, panic is not a solution. Never before has the world been more compelled to maintain calm and resolve in the face of a rapidly expanding global health crisis such as this one. As countries all around the world grapple with responding to the new coronavirus, it is incumbent upon us to ensure that we are not feeding into the frenzy, but to ensure that we are ready to combat the spread within our own borders. As the confirmed number of cases escalates all around the world, the need for us to be fully prepared has never been more vital. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the IFP calls on the government to be transparent with the public, which is of crucial importance when managing a matter of national and international public importance such as this one. It calls to task those who are in leadership positions with public platforms to desist from fear-mongering when speaking of the coronavirus. At this point, the public at large is fully aware of the existence of the virus, and what is left is for us to change the language we use in order to help the citizens to be better prepared for the effects for once we have determined what it is that in fact will hit our shores, as it has already been confirmed. Therefore, government needs to be transparent and ensure that information is publicly accessible to help educate citizens on the risks and necessary precautionary measures, as well as actively avoid panic and misinformation. A lack of reliable information can also give rise to baseless rumors and fake news. Singapore, for example, sends out daily briefings on coronavirus updates, how many cases have been confirmed, how many patients have been discharged from hospital and where the new clusters are appearing. This transparency will help reduce hysteria and give other countries and international experts important information in understanding the spread of this virus. Honorable Deputy Speaker, it is also our collective responsibility to change the stigma surrounding this virus. The coronavirus has proven not to discriminate. It has not targeted a specific race or ethnic group or even people of a particular fitness level. Therefore, we need to ensure that we publicly denounce any association of this virus to any specific group of people to put a stop to the stigmatization. Government should look into launching public awareness campaigns. These have proven to be effective in some Asian countries, teaching people how to keep good hygiene as well as best practices. While the government and citizens should prepare us for this virus, it's important, again I stress, not to panic. Honorable Deputy Speaker, there are practical things that need to be done now. The SABC, ENCAA, and Newsroom Africa should ensure that they are giving information free of charge on the daily to their viewers, particularly during primetime news. We are calling on MTN, Vodacom, Telkom, and Cell C to be giving out daily reminders to our people to make sure that they are well informed. A public-private partnership of efforts in this regard is very, very important. The same goes to the private hospitals who have got the necessary resources and infrastructure to ensure that they give full assistance to the majority of our healthcare centers, particularly during this time. Therefore, ultimately what we need now is for leaders to lead. We have been granted a good head start as this country. Let us therefore not adopt a defeatist approach but confront this virus head on. Finally, Deputy Speaker, Honorable Minister Kabazel, one healthcare worker whose information and contact details I'll hand over to you has contacted me about concerns that they have in their facility so that we can be able to step in, because this is also a facility in KwaZulu-Natal. But let's stand shoulder to shoulder, confront this virus, assist our people, and run away from hysteria and the frenzy, because it's only
siyabonga ke,
information that will help us. I thank you.
Honorable PA van Staden.
Geachte Junk Speaker, die hoeveelheid mense wat al reeds weens die coronavirus gesterf het, staan nou op oor bietjie die 3000 mense. En daar is nou reeds oor die 95.000 gevalle aangemeld in meer as 81 lande waar mense positief vir die virus getoets het. Die Wêreldgesondheidsorganisasie het gister aangekondig dat daar nie genoeg beskermende toerusting is om die verspreiding van die dodelike virus te voorkom nie. Die WHO het reeds 'n beroep op regerings en maatskappye gedoen om op produksie met 40% te verhoog. Die Wêreldbank het ook aangekondig dat 'n bedrag van $12 miljard beskikbaar stel om lande te help om die virus te beveg. Hier in Afrika het die virus reeds sy kop uitgesteek in Algerië, Senegal, Marokko, Nigerië en Egipte. En die virus is sopas in Suid-Afrika. Iran het reeds 300.000 burgermaglede ontplooi om van deur tot deur te gaan om huise te laat ontsmet. Amerika oorweeg tans om die grens met Mexico te sluit om die verspreiding van die virus te keer. Die Amerikaanse staat Washington het ook al verskeie gevalle van die virus aangemeld en die staat Californië het vanoggend 'n noodtoestand weens die virus afgekondig. Die Britse minister van Gesondheid het reeds aangedui dat sy regering om daarop voorberei dat die epidemie gaan vererger. Frankryk het 'n tydelike verbod geplaas op die samekomste van mense waar dit die 5000 merk oorskry. Die eerste voorvalle is reeds in Qatar, Ierland, Ecuador, Luxemburg en vandag in Suid-Afrika aangemeld. Hier in Suid-Afrika is die coronavirus-uitbreking 'n gevaar vir ons, omrede ons landse grense tussen buurlande oop lê en daar nie voldoende beheer oor die daaglikse toestroming van mense oor ons grense is nie. Ons sal baie vinnig die voorbeelde van ander lande moet begin volg om ons grense te sluit. Mense kan ongesiens deurkom by ons buurlande se grense. Oop grense en slegte grense moet opgeskerp, gesluit en gemonitor word. En dit is nie 'n maatreël om teen iemand te diskrimineer nie, maar ons moet kyk na die mense van ons eie land. Dit is nie goed genoeg net om ons liggame en hawens te beskerm nie, maar maatreëls moet dringend ingestel word omrede hierdie virus maklik, en ons het nou gesien, reeds die land binne gedring het. Talle sportgeleenthede oor die wêreld is al reeds afgestel of uitgestel. Een hiervan is die Olimpiese Spele wat moontlik in die slag gaan bly. Hier ook sal ons dringend die voorbeeld van ander lande moet volg om ook sportbyeenkomste te kanselleer totdat die virus onder beheer is en dit veilig is vir internasionale spanne om Suid-Afrika te besoek en andersom. Ons moet ons atlete en ons landsburgers beskerm, ons moet ook ons kinders beskerm. On these two matters, I'm looking forward to meet with the minister in the next week. It was reported on the 25th of February that the Harvard University is predicting that the coronavirus will ultimately not be containable, and within 1 year it will infect between 40 to 70% of humanity. This is how serious this matter is. With still no cure worldwide for this virus, we have no choice but to do what is necessary to do to save the lives of our citizens and of our children. It is very clear that the South African public is worried about the assignment of the 13 state hospitals to manage and treat patients who will be infected with this virus. It is clear that our public health system is not sustainable and healthy to address this problem. It is also worried that the public is being kept in the dark around the matter of where the quarantine areas will be and how it will be managed and administrated. Yes, the Minister did explain yesterday to the committee what the reason is not to announce where these places will be. But the South African public must know what is going on and not to be kept in the dark. Security measures can be so strict, but nobody can enter, but the public must know what's going on. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Swart.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The ACDP would like to dedicate this speech to the brave doctor from Wuhan in China who first exposed the truth about the coronavirus, Dr. Li Wenliang. Sadly, he passed away in February, a victim of the very virus he exposed. So the question we face with today is whether we are adequately prepared as a nation. And the ACDP wants to thank all members in government, health workers who are doing their very best under very difficult circumstances. Across the world, we see authorities scrambling to halt the virus's spread, schools being shut, major cultural and sports events suspended, and work hours even being cut back. And we see members being encouraged, citizens in Italy and Iran avoiding physical contact, sports being closed down. And of course, now we see the first case in South Africa. So we from the ACDP side would encourage the government to be more proactive in its public awareness campaigns about the symptoms and where one can get help and the preventive measures that can be taken. We also need to be mindful that some South Africans may be more susceptible to respiratory diseases given the high levels of tuberculosis in our nation. And bear in mind that many of our people are in overcrowded trains and taxis, for example. We would urge the involvement of churches and faith-based organizations to communicate awareness of this disease. And we need to be praying. Many of us are believers. Let's pray, but we need prayer and we need action in encouraging a sense of calm in this situation. We would also want to warn against any misinformation, false news, fake news that has been spread around about the virus, creating unnecessary fear and panic. And we would support measures of daily updates. If ESCOM can give daily updates about load shedding, surely we can and should be giving updates about this pandemic. We don't need fear or panic, but we must be properly prepared. We from the ACDP side will come alongside government and do whatever is necessary, but we will also exercise our oversight responsibilities. We would urge all South Africans to take collective responsibility where we each do what we can to ensure that we stay safe and contain any potential threat as quickly and as efficiently as we can. And let us bear in mind that Psalm 91 says, as we trust in the Lord, no pestilence will come near our habitation. So again, to conclude, we need prayer and we need action and minister everything on the very best as we do. But let's be open, let's be frank, let's be accountable. Let us not hide information that citizens need to know about this as much as possible. The ACDP will assist wherever is necessary and possible. I thank you.
Honorable Ngabayomzi Lawrence Saziso Kwankwa.
Yini Deputy Speaker ubizane lobukhoboka Thixo wami. Honorable Deputy Speaker and honorable members, the United Democratic Movement is of the view that the South African government is not handling COVID-19 outbreak in China and the impact thereof on all South Africans very well. Yes, statements have been issued by the National Department saying that measures are in place to detect, manage, contain any cases of coronavirus should it come to our shores. And yes, now it has unfortunately come to our shores. Yes, the National Institute for Communicable Diseases keeps updating their website or keeps their website up to date about the latest developments that directly affect citizens, which is good. Yet, when we look at correspondence, when in possession of correspondence that was sent especially to the embassy, South African embassy in China and Beijing, where most of the responses from the embassy were either unhelpful and at times showed signs of panic, and at times ministers were a bit insensitive and over the top, which failed to show sensitivity to the concerns of some of the South Africans who were locked in China at the time. However, Minister, kunzima mandibeke lento ukuthi qala abantu bakuthi samane sikhumsha sithi coronavirus bakhona bahleli phana sazi njani uMadlamini ohleli pha eKhayelitsha noMamCirha opha eMdantsane kunye noMamkwena ophana eSoweto ukuthi the flu-like symptoms anazo azo coronavirus kuba abasoze bayazi kwasabona kuba kaloku public awareness campaigns ne-regular updates azenziwa ngokuthi kwenzeka ntoni. Okwesibini, kuba nzima sixolele mhlawumbi ke sesineentandabuzo ezininzi. Isekwale ngulo rhulumente ophantsi ubangela ukuthi uMzantsi Afrika ubulawe yipoloni. Ngoni cinga uba sizawunikholelwa njani xa ningekho transparent about your actions, especially kule nto coronavirus nithi niredi ngayo. Inyanzo emsulwa engangxengwanga kuba sasixakene nepaloni apha sigilana. I-coronavirus yodlula iChina nee-resources ezininzi. Thina sasixakwe yipaloni sicinga uba sinayo indlela ucoordinator nodila nayo properly and effectively without communicating it. The other issue is singu-chair we-AU, sifanele singabi parochial in our approach. What we should endeavor to do is that since there are incidents and cases of coronavirus up in Africa as a whole, is to look at this thing broadly to say what would be the continental response in a more coordinated approach to the question of coronavirus, so that thina apha eMzantsi Africa we can be able to provide a template esinoyisebenzisa to some of the countries who have less resources kunathi, who are affected by coronavirus on the continent, to say how can we be able to provide leadership on this question. These are important issues nokuthi xa bebuya abantu bakuthi aba nithetha ngabo 151 ukuthi zeziphi izicwangciso nkqubo enizibekileyo in place nokuthi public ikwazi ukuyazi. Ndiyakhathazeka kuba at the time when you were saying there were 34 citizens as busy locked in Wuhan, the embassy was in possession of a correspondence that showed ukuthi there were 78.
Siphelele isikhetho. Honorable August, it's your time, sir. Is a date.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, it is extremely scary that as I stand here today, the first case of coronavirus has just been confirmed in South Africa. Yet I have very little idea how to protect my family from it or what to do if any of us were to become infected. If I don't know what to do, as a Member of Parliament living in a modern city with access to the full range of available information, what chance do South Africans have if or when the virus strikes their communities? Education is a key management tool in any health crisis. We know that from our experience with HIV, but we are failing to provide crucial information to our people about coronavirus. Crucial information such as what the coronavirus is, what the symptoms are, how it spreads, and what to do if you suspect you have been infected. Honorable Deputy Speaker, where are the pamphlets, the posters, and the public service announcements? What information is being conveyed at our hospitals, schools, government buildings, business, and public spaces? If we are taking the World Health Organization's global warning of pandemic seriously, public education is not just the responsibility of the Department of Health, but it is a national priority. In Japan and Italy, schools have closed to stop the spread of this virus. Does our education department have a plan in place if the virus begins to sweep across South Africa? What plans have the retail and public health sectors put in place to stock up on hand sanitizers and face masks, among other clinical products, to stop the virus? Where will we house those who should be quarantined? What are media companies doing to stem the flow of false information and fake news? The correct approach, the good approach, would be to begin working on the basics immediately. There is no vaccine to prevent coronavirus, but there are ways to reduce your chances of becoming infected. The best way to prevent infection is to avoid being exposed to the virus. Our people need basic information on how to do this urgently. Can the virus be transferred through shaking hands? Why is it important to cover your mouth and nose when you sneeze? What should we do with used facial tissues? How best do we disinfect our hands and our homes? There are nearly 500 parliamentarians in South Africa. Coronavirus is said to kill more than 3% of people who infects so some of our lives are likely at stake. But if it is to cause mayhem in our country, it's not the likes of us who are most at risk. It is poor, elderly, and vulnerable South Africans, such as those living with diabetes, who will shoulder the biggest burden. It is our responsibility as parliamentarians to protect them, beginning today. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Let me start off by saying that the National Freedom Party has done some research into the Durban International, that's King Shaka International, or Tambo, and the Cape Town International, and we are quite satisfied with the measures that have been put in place in this. Let us be honest about it. Having said that, we have not done any research or any investigation, but I'm hoping that the Portfolio Committee on Health, which is here, should conduct some oversight into particularly the different borders and where there are lots and lots of influx of people from foreign nationals and things that are coming into the country, or our own people that are going out and coming in. But the airports, I can tell you, I have done some homework on it. The only one challenge is I think that we found was the lack of consistency in the quality of the mask that was provided. And I'm told that the accepted standard is an N95, and some of them don't have the actual N95. So I think the minister must take cognizance of that, and the department, and just check that all of them have the same high quality of these masks to try and prevent any infection, particularly on some. And yes, indeed, I think we must also commend our staff and our officials that are on duty in all these ports of entry, because they're putting their lives at risk. They are working consistently. They are doing their best. I'm told that every single person entering the country, South African or foreigner, goes through a test at the moment. Their temperatures are checked. The quarantine facilities are available. Medical service emergencies are available at the airports and others. This is the information. I have done my research into these things, believe me. But like I said, we have not done any research in the border controls in the other areas, and I think that's what the portfolio. So instead of political parties saying, let me go, let this one go, that's what you have oversight committees for. You have them at national level, you have them at provincial level. Let's go out there and go and see, and if there's any challenges, let's address them. It's as simple as that. I hope the sudden rise in making this a big issue recently is not motivated by the fact that we are repatriating a lot of our South Africans. That we must do. Those are our people. They have to be brought back here. And yes, indeed, all measures. Now, looking at the history of how we've dealt with Ebola and listeriosis, let's be honest about it. I think we've conducted ourselves professionally. We did a fantastic job in maintaining and preventing that. So let's work together, and I'm quite sure we'll be able to handle this as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Gallo.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. There are few preliminaries that we must highlight in this global discussion. Firstly, there is no functional purpose in continuously spreading misinformation about the matrix of the coronavirus. Secondly, 2 South Africans who tested positive for the coronavirus while on a cruise ship in Japan have now been tested negative after being quarantined in Japan. Thirdly, the World Health Organization has issued a standard recommendations guide to prevent the spread of the virus, and these include regular hand washing, covering mouth and nose when coughing and sneezing, thoroughly cooking meat and eggs. The data we have gathered from the simple desktop research indicated that of the 78,000 reported cases globally, 2,744 people have died. In Southern Africa, only Nigeria has confirmed the first case of the virus. We are also aware that a 38-year-old South African man who recently returned from Italy with his wife has tested positive for the deadly coronavirus. There is no doubt that this disease implicates the political, social, and economic orders of the world. It is daunting and nerve-wracking The process of repatriating South African citizens from Wuhan city in Hubei province, China must be embraced by all South Africans. We should support the work of the health ministry and continue to invest our resources to innovate medical research program geared towards devising ways to manage and ultimately cure this virus. The African Independent Congress sincerely support the work of the ministry. I thank you.
Honorable Madisha.
Okay. Thank you very much. Our Bill of Rights accords everyone the right to health care. Yet 84% of the nation's 58.8 million people have no medical insurance and rely on a public health system with very few doctors and dilapidated facilities, resulting in delayed or inadequate treatment. The country's poorest people have access to free treatment at about 3,800 public clinics and hospitals, but these facilities are all too often plagued by broken equipment and shortages of medicine. Only 5 of 639 facilities covered in the Office of Health Standard Compliance's most recent report met 80% of their required performance criteria in areas such as drug availability and proper infection control. South Africa also has insufficient medical personnel with a doctor-patient ratio of 0.9 per 1,000, lower than Brazil and others. The biggest reason cited by doctors leaving the public sector is work and poor working conditions. World Health Organization has already declared the virus outbreak a global health emergency, largely because of fears that poorer countries such as ourselves may not be able to cope with the outbreak. The health system in South Africa is already struggling with the existing workload, and COPE believes many public hospitals can't deal with another outbreak of a highly infectious disease. Many cases go undetected. Now, as a result of this, there is a problem. The minister has indicated that Tygerberg Hospital will be the major hospital to deal with this virus. But Minister, Tygerberg Hospital is faced with financial problems as it spent recently 700 million rand to upgrade its facilities. COPE concern is that hospitals like Tygerberg will not be ready to serve the hundreds of citizens coming back to South Africa from China and elsewhere. President Ramaphosa approved the budget of 25 million rand to repatriate 151 South Africans. The concern is, where will these citizens be quarantined, and will they be able to afford the medical expenses? This is worrisome to COPE. Okay.
Honorable Wilson.
Thank you. Minister Mboweni must be so pleased that his little friend Aloe Ferox is so hardy and can overcome many hardships. He must be even happier that little Ferox is not reliant on the South African public health system for survival, especially now that Corona has hit our shores. The minister advised that 13 hospitals have been identified to handle the treatment and quarantine of patients diagnosed with the coronavirus. Chair, today we speak for all South Africans, and you will understand we are wary. The minister was not present at the public hearings to witness the stories we were told. We were asked please to visit, and I quote, the hospital of horrors, the hospital of death. Where are our ambulances? There are no ambulances. Over the last year, we have visited many hospitals across South Africa, and what we have witnessed has been most disturbing. In Mahikeng, maternity patients with newborns were sleeping on the floor on mattresses. Medical waste, gloves and vials were lying on the grass outside. Mold was growing on the walls. The boiler was not working and there was no hot water. There was a severe shortage of doctors and nurses. The toilets were filthy, there was no soap and no towels. An outbreak there is going to be devastating. In Mankweng Hospital more recently, I found much of the same, but with animal feces inside the hospital. I could not fathom it until one evening I found goats wandering in the hospital, and I have the pictures to prove it. 10 babies died in Tembisa over 2 months. A drug-resistant bacteria has been blamed. If we cannot prevent those kind of basic incidences, how are we going to manage the control of hundreds of patients who will contract the coronavirus? It is here. Coronavirus targets those with vulnerable immune systems, and we have the highest numbers of HIV and TB patients in the world. Our national health laboratories do not have the best track record, and we are very doubtful that they can cope when the numbers escalate. It is time for transparency, Minister, for urgency. We need to know, and we must see where our patients will be going to confirm that we are indeed ready. It is time to work together and ensure the safety of every South African. You need to assure us. And in closing, we will pray and uplift all of those health professionals who are going to have to deal with this as it escalates. I think they have a tough time going, and we must uplift them and support them where we can. I thank you.
Honorable Munyai.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Maybe before one could not join the chorus of those that are spreading the political virus through the barrage of propaganda, we'll attend to them later. Let us focus on what is very important to the nation and the world. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the virus has no borders. In a globalized community, which is interconnectedness and also interdependence, logistics don't only move goods and services, but can also spread viruses. To this end, we extend our deepest condolences to the CPC leadership. Under his leadership, President Xi Jinping, at the core of leadership of those who lost their life. At the very same time, salute the leadership of Chinese under the CPC, as Ambassador Lina said, turning a blind eye to the fact that the Chinese have been effectively mobilized under the CPC leadership, and that the party members are leading the work. These people are provoking the blasts and also clamoring for unnecessary overreactions while we are doing the work, close quote. Here at home, the Department of Health put in place coordinated response. Let me say comprehensive coordinated response. Hence one of the positive person that has been detected. To South Africa and the African National Congress, that is a great success and demonstrate the state of readiness. These, I know collectively we have been briefed on the state of readiness at the Portfolio Committee, including members of the Portfolio Committee who was playing at the gallery. We know, amongst others, the measures that are put forward by the department is to educate the country's population about the virus prevention actions. Everyone can protect her or his health and protect others by frequently washing hands, maintain social distance from someone sneezing or coughing, seeking medical care early when coughing or breathing problems. Expand surveillance to find and isolate and care to every case, to trace everyone contact. This already has begun. Take on all of government and all of society's approach. This is not the job of the health ministry alone, but as South African and collective,
we need to work together. The world is experiencing an outbreak, epidemic virus called coronavirus, as here referred as COVID-19. And of course, the symptoms, I won't go to them because they're well known thus far. World Health Organization has raised its assessment of the risk and spread and also the risk impact of COVID-19 coronavirus to very high to the global level. They even declared this a global emergency. This means it should and must be a top priority for all member state countries, including South Africa as declared by multinational institution, World Organization. It is also an undisputed fact that this morning, for instance, the outbreak novel coronavirus, as referred as COVID-19 in the global community, we saw the unprecedented, comprehensive, coordinated intervention by His Excellency President Xi Jinping. Also, the General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, the CPC and Central Committee and Chairman of Central Committee of Central Military Commission. It also remains undisputed fact that coronavirus dramatically declined in both Hubei province and city of Wuhan, with some municipality that's been cleared of coronavirus. So therefore, it is also important as part of education to share what President Xi Jinping has reflected, open quote. It is imperative to share that it is very important that at the moment, winning the people's war against epidemic still requires hard work. More efforts need to be done to seek solution through science. It's not rhetoric, as the members have tried to do earlier. Based on the principle of building a community with a shared future of humankind, China is a responsible nation. For the Chinese safety and health has duty to safeguard the global public health. It is very much important that South Africa as well should also join the world of nations in terms of sharing the capability. Maybe the honorable members from the opposition is not aware that we have a very much important high-tech testing lab, which has been given the standard of the BS level 4 by the World Health Organization. It is very much important, House Chair, that we have no doubt that South Africa is combat ready, despite the fact that there's a lot of criticism by the opposition who doesn't take serious because they're not in government. We know that it is very serious impact. This coronavirus, it can also seriously impact on the public health, the economy and the jobs, and we should not be able to place the geopolitical matters on the social issues. Like the outbreak in Ebola, like my colleague also said earlier, years ago, South Africa has played a meaningful role that really helped us to be able to make sure that we push back this virus. We have a full hope and also confidence within the government because we know that they can play a meaningful role in playing this global epidemic by collaborating with all other departments as they do now with the coronavirus. It is also maybe very important to indicate that because we know that some of the propaganda that are put forward, they are put forward precisely because some are trying to indicate that it's the government that just took a resolution alone. These members that the leadership of cabinet resolved, it's out of the request from the members themselves and family members. So we should not even indicate, Honorable Minister, it doesn't worth your time to indicate at the venue because it must be declared a national point. Otherwise, when these members arrive, they should be able, they may find the venue occupied by journalists journalists rather than the family members who are supposed to see their own next of kin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now call upon the Honourable the Minister of Health to address the House.
Thank you, House Chairperson. The honourable members of this House, I want to start by thanking you for the debate. I want to thank the Honourable Kwahube for raising the matter. It's a matter that is very important. But I also want to thank the members because you have taken a great deal of, a great sense of responsibility in dealing with this matter. It is the one matter where we cannot afford to be politicking and doing point scoring. And I think largely the approach that we have taken has been very responsible. I really want to thank you. I think we owe it to the people who have elected us to this House to be very responsible and sensitive in the manner that we deal with this issue. As you have heard already, honourable members, we have already confirmed the first case that has tested positive for the coronavirus or COVID-19 in South Africa, in KwaZulu-Natal. I was informed this morning, I've already briefed the President. This is a person who had traveled to Italy, and they were a group of 10, and so they returned a few days ago. But the patient had consulted a general practitioner who was, because of the level of collaboration, was aware of the protocol that we have to take. Patient had presented with fever, headaches, malaise, and sore throat, not much of a cough. And in the process, they took the specimen, and then they got the laboratory informed. And this has been tested positive. But in the meantime, the patient was asked to stay on a voluntary home quarantine, and that now we've got a whole team of our emergency operations center has gone to identify all the contacts, interviewing the patient and the doctor. A tracer team has landed in KwaZulu-Natal. They're with epidemiologists and clinicians from the NICD. The doctor is also self-isolated, so we've actually descended on this particular case. We're now tracing the others who may have come back, so that we must then start widening the net to reach out to all those who could have been exposed and are at risk. We will be testing them as we have been doing in the past few weeks. Already more than 120 tests were done on cases where the doctors or the history suggested that we need to do so, and all of them have been negative up to this point. So I think it's important, therefore, that we must not allow panic to set in, because this spread of this virus is indeed worrying. In January, it was declared public health emergency of international concern by the WHO. That allowed us to activate our emergency operations center, which was working with extra lines for the public as well as the doctors and clinics to be able to get advice. In the context of all of this, we actually said that it would be working until from 8 to 4, but now that the first case has been identified, we're going to be running on a 24-hour basis. So we would therefore be ensuring that very strong contact tracing is in place. I think we all are aware, as has been indicated by members, that at this point, about 95,000 people have been infected with this infection, 80,000 of whom are in China, and the other 5,000 are spread in 86 countries plus one territory, which is the Diamond Princess Cruise. So the major countries that are of concern to us beyond China is South Korea, which has gone to beyond 5,000 members, Italy, which is over 2,000, and Iran similarly. The last two are of concern for two reasons: that they've infected more people than were infected by China at the time it was declared a matter of public emergency. And then, of course, same, both Iran and Italy are at that kind of level. So we've seen that there's been drastic actions taken with a number of countries withdrawing traveling, what we call flights into various countries, like into China, but we've also seen temporary closure of schools in Italy and some in UK. All of these are measures also associated with the cancellation of some of the public events. In this case, in Africa, we've noted that of the cases that we've got, about 11, 12 with South Africa now, or as I said, 5 of those countries, people have got a history of contact with Italy. So Nigeria, Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, Senegal, Tunisia, and now South Africa. This is actually important as well, because as we looked at the way the pattern of the disease has been going, of the 160 cases in the US, 48 of them had been imported from outside, but 3 only came from China. 45 came from the Diamond Princess ship. We've also seen some of those going into different parts of the world. Now, in our case, we have 2 of our South African citizens who have been tested positive and are out in the Diamond Princess cruise. They actually have been treated and they are now negative. They will be coming back, and we have said they will do so through normal commercial airlines. We would like people to accept that they've been treated of the disease. They shouldn't be panic about it. That's the way it's going to happen. The other 10 are going to be left in quarantine for 14 days, and when they test negative, they'll actually all be coming back. And if they are negative, if they are positive, they'll actually be treated in Japan. We are in daily contact with them, including the doctors who are working with them. With regard to those that will be coming from Wuhan City and Hebei Province, 151 of them are South Africans. We've taken the decision to get them to come back, mainly because of their request. Included in that team are people who were students who had completed their studies and needed to come back, but because of their pleas, the president and cabinet has agreed that we must actually bring them over. We had said we said 7 to 10 days, so within the next few days they should be coming back. They will be put into quarantine in South Africa, but on landing, on takeoff from China, they will actually be given protective clothes, and there will be necessary protection, clothes, masks, and gloves, and so on, to make sure that we test them and we'll be able to look at their things, at their tests as they come back. They will be put into quarantine in a way that will allow us to avoid any further spread. If there were families, if there were groups sharing dormitories, they'll be together. If not, they'll be separate. We are going to be making those details to be known when they are here. But the point of the matter is that we have not announced a lot of specifics, because we would like the team to get to China and come back, and whilst they are sorting out all the contractual issues, we think it's not necessary to move in there to be disclosing a lot of information. We are working with the support of the WHO, and our scientists here have partnered with the Africa Centers for Disease Control and the Regional Collaboration Center in Zambia to support the diagnosis of COVID-19 in SADC across the continent, to facilitate community practice of clinicians, to share preparedness plans, to relevant common solutions, to participate in training offered by the
Honourable
SABC.
Minister, will you just take a seat, please? Yes, Honourable Member, why are you rising?
Thanks, Chair. Can the Minister take a question?
Honourable Minister, are you prepared to take a question?
With the greatest respect.
When I'm done with my presentation.
No, now.
No, Honourable Member, the Minister has indicated...
When are the South Africans who are coming? When?
Honourable
Date and
Member, take your seat. Continue, Honourable Minister.
I have said that when we announced, we said we have got a 7 to 10 days horizon within which that must be done. So the issue, I've given 7 to 10 days. I think the member must just be patient. The next issue, colleagues, is that we need to then address some of the basic issues. This issue of COVID-19 is not going to be a matter of government and health services only. The landing of any of the cases in South Africa are not because of the weakness of our health system. It's because of the social interaction that we have with the world, and therefore when people come over into South Africa, we just need to know there are certain basic precautions that we need to take into account. Firstly, the issue of personal hygiene, coughing, controlling of droplet infection becomes very important. Those issues are quite important. Now, the members have raised very important issues about the shortages of staff the issues of underfunding on health. All of these we acknowledge. But I think we need to understand that our readiness to deal with this is in a matter of emergencies. When cases arise, they will be taken to 11 of the hospitals. And honorable members, we have removed Tembisa out of those. We will actually be increasing the numbers as we prepare for more patients to come in. So we are ready to deal with those when they land. But I think what's important is to look at the resilience of how, as we move into the future, we're going to be living with endemic coronavirus, which will be available, which will be in our country. So all of us must be on an alert. The issues that relate to precautions at the airports, you've all been informed. We actually get our teams of Port Health to go into the plane to check all the individuals and take further training. Those who were alleged to have left their line of duty in Beitbridge have been suspended. We want to send a very serious message that the issue of taking the screening and prevention of the infection is very serious. The chances are that more people are going to land in South Africa than they'll land in most of the part of, particularly of SADC, and therefore we have to be the ones to be vigilant. We don't have the infection spreading within the local community yet. Therefore, the issue of concerns around transport and the people inside the country is something that we're going to continue watching. But right now, we actually believe that most of the major entries are going to be on the international airports. That's why it's going to be important to deal with that. Our laboratories are well equipped and they are reference laboratories. They are able to test, and therefore, as reference laboratories, we know we will not miss any case. So at the end of the day, we believe that we should make sure we send as much information, and I take the members' comment about massive information increasing. Right now, we are giving daily updates, but we are going to increase that quite a bit so that information is easily available, that people have the right information. We must fight against fake news. We must fight against politicization of this issue. We need to make sure that South Africans are united behind a fight against this particular problem. We are going to be meeting with clinicians, virologists, epidemiologists in the next 3-4 days to actually look at how to prepare for the resilience of our system into the future. We also intend to meet the churches, sports bodies, hospitality industry, because we have to talk about how to approach large gatherings where the possibility of a spread might arise. All of these issues are going to be important for us to deal with, to deal with these issues. All of the issues, therefore, that the members are raising, we have said, for example, to the members of parliament, give us your ideas. Do you believe that South Africa should be banning all the international conferences into South Africa and stop our members from going all over the world? It's up to you. We will need to give us a guide on that, because some of the countries have reacted in a way that hasn't necessarily helped in their situations. But we are, at the moment, taking a very responsible approach, guided by the guidelines of WHO. We are aware of the challenges that our staff are facing. We are going to be addressing as much as possible of that. But we want South Africans to work with government and work with to use the information that we share so that they can take responsibility for prevention and ensuring their own safety in this kind of outbreak. It is important, therefore, for the members in this House to go visit these facilities, our ports of entry. You are welcome to come and look at this. You are welcome to do that. I'm aware that the Portfolio Committee is looking at that. So all of the issues of weaknesses in the system, I take it, you bring bring to our attention what needs to be corrected. At that point, we will all be working together to fight coronavirus. Like all the other countries, we are going to live with coronavirus. I think we need to be upfront about it. Like all the other countries, our system will be tested by impact of coronavirus. Like all the other countries, we have to work together, unite to fight against this new infection. Not much is known about it, but the more we unite, the better we'll be able to fight it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, that concludes the debate. The last item on the order paper is a subject for discussion. In the name of the Honourable Gigi Mpumza, on strengthening...
All right, so, well, you have it, there you have it, that's...
Thanks, Chair.
Order, honourable member. You may continue, honourable member.
Enkosi sihlalo wesession kulendlu yowisa umthetho.
Mandikhahleleke nakumalungu
Abeke kuleyo alendlu.
silapha sihlalo sokuthula udondolo nolwamvila lokuhlangula luhlasele lucibiyele
Imbandezelo nenzingo nemicela mingene libazisa uhulumento gabalala nohulumento ncakasana lwasemakhaya ukuze ukhawulezeke ukuzisa inkonzo eluntwini laseMzantsi Afrika. Ndivumeleke sihlalo ndicaphule kwenye yengwevu zomzabalazo eyaphuma impondo ubawo uNelson Mandela kule ntetho yam. I have taken a moment here to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds me, to look back on the distance I've come. But I can only rest for a moment, for with freedom come responsibilities. And I dare not linger, for my long walk is not ended. The ANC-led government has in the past year taken a glorious vista and diagnosed service delivery challenges, which often deprive society of quality and meaningful service delivery. In line with addressing these challenges, President Cyril Ramaphosa has, in October 2019, launched the District Development Model to accelerate service delivery and job creation. This system will and is piloted in 44 district municipalities and 8 metros, and it has already been launched in 3 district municipalities, OR Tambo, Waterberg, and eThekwini. The model of the system requires planning, alignment across all spheres of government to drive a developmental local government indeed. This means that national and provincial local government must develop one plan, one budget for each district across the country. The ANC therefore appeals to society and traditional leaders to support the district development model and be integrally involved with community processes that will drive local government. Last week, the President met with the premiers of the 9 provinces and the mayors of the 44 districts and 8 metropolitan municipalities to assess the progress of the development model. The ANC is pleased that the meeting received a report on the pilot project currently underway and adopted the program of action to launch the model in the further 23 districts during the 2020 calendar year. Chair of the session, the implementation of this model will critically assist local government in striving to achieve the maximizing of social development and economic growth, as well as the better promise of the white paper in continuing to democratize development, empower and redistribute within communities and across sectors. So it is therefore paramount and important that as this model is being rolled out, leading and learning must characterize the processes in that area, so that indeed we might say we are creating a democratic, cohesive society. If South Africa is to address the triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment, it needs the state that is capable of playing a transformative and developmental role. And indeed, the development model is the way. For South Africa to realize the Vision 2030, it requires collaboration between all sectors of society and a strong leadership by government to discharge and implement this particular model. The model will go a long way in strengthening the existing intergovernmental relation in this way. There is a need for strengthening and alignment of already existing intergovernmental coordination and cooperation. South Africa needs a more predictable, coordinated system of how macro policies and priorities are set, and indeed translated into integrated planning instruments, and how budgets are developed, deployed, implemented, and within and across all spheres of government. A clear and progressive strategy is needed to address the weak vertical micro-policy coordination across all spheres of government and strengthen the horizontal coordination, cooperation across departments and agencies of government so that we dismiss of the myth of misunderstanding. Cooperative governance legislation must be enacted to deal with issues related to the efficiency of the provincial and national government in providing adequate and resilient support to local government and the provinces. Chairperson, as I have indicated earlier on, that sizanodondolo nolwamvila lokucibelela luhlasele lubulale zonke imbandezolo kokuba urhulumente abaleke ngesangqi esiphezulu ukusinkonzo ebantwini. There is a need to address issues of capability and capacity of the state, and these should be understood separately. Of course, capability of structures and processes and systems, as well as government instruments at all micro levels, would assist us to bring about a matrix of required skills to ensure that indeed the machinery of the state is moving with speed. Chairperson, the challenges faced by local government will indeed be defeated in a matter of time, and very soon they are going to be matters of the past. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Hussain.
Honourable Bumza, your party had 25 years and you didn't fix it, and you think you want us to believe you're going to do it very soon. Chairperson, it's going to take much more than a 90-minute debate to reverse the 25 years of decline and corruption if we want to strengthen local government in our country. Notwithstanding the fact that more people today have access to basic services than they did 25 years ago, there are some harsh realities that we must all face up to. The first reality is that local government in South Africa is in a mess. Even the word crisis, I'm afraid, is being polite. It's mostly because of three main factors: poor management, lack of accountability, and internal political party dynamics and infighting. Most of the 257 municipalities are in a disastrous financial state. Many of them cannot collect revenue, nor can they even pay their bills or staff salaries on time. More than a third of our municipalities are not financially viable and technically bankrupt. And as a result, they cannot provide basic services like the delivery of clean water. Who would have thought after 25 years of democracy that there will still be communities in our country that still do not have access to water? But the rot starts at the top. COGTA has once again received a poor audit outcome from the Auditor General. Not only was that report late, but it also reads like a horror movie. Let me tell you about the Community Works program that the department has implemented 10 years ago. It spends billions of rands every year, and the intended purpose of providing basic employment and support opportunities for the poor was a very good one initially. But like most government programs, the CWP program has also created an opportunity for vultures to feed. Billions of rands have been siphoned off through the CWP program, where thousands of people are being paid to sit at home and do nothing. If you think that's bad, listen to this. The department also pays people in the CWP program who have died a long time ago. So someone has been recruiting unemployed people in the graveyard. And then there are government employees who are also cashing in on the program and are being paid every month as CWP workers but they do nothing. They just sit and collect cash every month. And if you ask COCTA to give you a report on the benefits of this program over the last decade after investing billions of rands, they will tell you that they haven't even done such an analysis. They just hand out cash to dead people every month. The CWP program must be scrapped because it's not achieving its intended purpose. We also know that the governing party uses this program to employ their field workers so that the governing party can use them in the elections. And when they choose not to work, they are threatened that their stipends will come to an end. But to be fair, the Minister of COCTA has been honest about some of these shortcomings, and we look forward to her interventions to bring this madness to an end. Chairperson, every year without fail, the AG points out billions of rands that are wasted by municipalities, and over the last 10 years, the situation has worsened. Although many municipalities have been making some progress expanding the delivery of services to more communities, we would have been able to achieve much more if politicians and officials were not stealing billions of rands through tender fraud and corruption. Just this week, COCTA presented a sample of forensic reports under investigation in municipalities across the country. That amount under investigation is more than 1.5 billion rand. There are cases where people have received hundreds of millions of rands for delivery of basic service infrastructure, and nothing has been delivered. Yet they've been paid in advance. We have a massive problem with local government in our country. Most municipalities cannot manage their finances. Fraud and corruption has become institutionalized culture. Human waste is flowing on the streets in many towns and cities. Water pipes are bursting on a daily basis because they have not been maintained. Rural communities still have to use the bush for toilets. And all because city officials and politicians are colluding with business to steal our money. And while all this is happening, officials are receiving performance awards in cash. Instead of being fired, people are receiving handsome bonuses. Chairperson, whether my colleagues in the governing party like to admit it or not, the fact remains that they are struggling to manage our municipalities in our country. And whether they like to admit it or not, DA-run municipalities do a much better job. Because we don't steal people's money, and we take action when people fail. This is proven by the AG when he revealed, I'll tell you where, listen, that 18 municipalities that received a clean audit, 12 of them come from the DA. In about a year from now, South Africans will once again have an opportunity to elect a government of their choice. It's an opportunity to correct the direction we are moving, and we are appealing to people in South Africa, if you vote this corrupt ANC into power again, you'll get the same result as you did for the last 25 years. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is the Honourable Mawatwe.
There is no DA that is doing anything good. We can see Tshwane and Johannesburg, they have
Order,
failed.
honourable members, order.
Chair, allow me to greet the Deputy President
Order, honourable members.
of the mighty economic freedom fighters, Commissar Flesh Ivambo, leading the battalion of the EFF. Chair, at the center of the crisis of local government in South Africa.
Honourable member, will you just stop there, please? Honourable members to my left, you are allowed to interject, but you are not allowed to drown the speaker at the podium with your noise. Give the speaker at the podium the necessary opportunity to deliver a speech. Continue, honourable member.
That's all they know, Chair, howling, but nothing. Chair, at the center of the crisis of local government in South Africa is poor conceptualization of the local state. The manner in which local government is conceived, conceptualized, and implemented is at the center of why the local government is in the state of perennial underdevelopment. The local state, its institutions and funding model plays local government as the hated step-cousin of the South African state. In all budgets and divisions of revenue, the local state is recipient of less than 10% of the entire budget. This despite the fact that local government is the cold face of service delivery and provision of basic services. The reason why local government receives less than 10% of the budget is based on the Western developed nations' practice and phenomenon that local municipalities can and should generate their own revenue. The reality is that an absolute majority of municipalities cannot collect their own revenue because there is no revenue base. In many areas, more than 70% of South African economy and revenue base comes from 3 provinces. The conditional grants method of infrastructure development is inadequate and cannot cover the massive infrastructure backlogs in many municipalities. Chair, black people continue to live in squatter camps and spaceless townships created as labor concentration camps, and the ruling party has failed to change any of these places into decent places of residence for our people. And with the current shape of local government, our people will remain in absolute poverty. Chairperson, the talk about district development model is hot air. That is why the Minister of Finance budget said nothing about it in his latest budget. As long as local government continues to receive less than 10% of the budget, the local, state, and communities will remain in permanent underdevelopment and poverty. We have raised this matter since the arrival of the economic freedom fighters in Parliament at the beginning of the 5th Parliament, and every time the Minister of Finance tables the division of revenue bill, we stand here and raise the matter. The Minister of Finance stood here last year and tabled yet another division of revenue bill and continues to present the same budget. Local government continues to get less than 10% of the revenue raised nationally. There's no other way of fixing and strengthening local government without fixing the allocation of revenue bill. Now, Chair, within the 90 days, people of Tshwane, where I come from, are going to be electing the new municipality. And the EFF is going to come out victorious. We welcome the dissolution of Tshwane because it is long overdue. The Tshwane municipality has been long directionless. So the EFF is going to give direction to the running of the business in Tshwane. The economic freedom fighters is going to be government in the city of Tshwane in the next 90 days. The minister, whether you like it or not. The people of Mandela Village, Marikana, Mamelodi, Soshanguve, Garankuwa, Treshville, the students in Sunnyside, Hatfield, Centurion are going to vote for the EFF and the mayor of EFF since the municipality council is dissolved. We want to put it on record that the EFF is ready to govern and the people of Tshwane are going to attain economic freedom in the next 90 days. In our first 100 days as the governing party in Tshwane, we're going to do the following. You must listen carefully. We're going to buy 70% of everything that the municipality uses from local suppliers, from manufacturers in Roslyn, in Silverton, and factories in Gezina. We're going to pass a council resolution to make sure that all clinics in Tshwane are open 24 hours. Chairperson, we're going to clean all townships, in particular entrances and central points, because the city is very dirty. The DA can't even clean. The simplest thing to do, hygiene. They're putting the lives of people of Tshwane in danger. We're going to build daycare centers in all the wards that do not have daycare centers, including abandoned municipal buildings that are just a waste. We're going to make sure that the people of Tshwane, of Hammanskraal, receive clean and drinkable water, something that the ANC failed to do 25 years in government. We're going to build proper dumping sites for people of Mamelodi. We're going to put proper security to deal with cable theft in Soshanguve and in Hammanskraal for the smooth running of all the trains. We're going to formalize Mandela Ville, Moyo Plus, Marikana, Timberview, Winterveld, Mbogozi, and all the informal settlements. And we're going to make sure that there is water, road, sanitation, and housing. We're appealing to all people of Tshwane to vote the EFF in the next 90 days. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
House Chair, you can entertain that irrelevant point of order.
No, all I can say is I can see that the next 90 days in Tshwane will be very eventful. The next speaker is the Honorable Lutuli. Order, honorable members, order.
Ngiyabonga sihlalo. Iningizimu neAfrika yize elinezinhlanga eziningi futhi ezehlukene ngokwamasiko nangokomnotho. Ngenxa yalokho kwalokho qondala ukuthi kube nendlela eqinile yokuphatha lezi zinhlanga. Lokhu kuyosiza ukuba izinguquko namaphupho kuleyo miphakathi.
Order, honorable members.
Lo mnyango ungumnyango ukuba uthuthukise ukusebenza kohulumeni basekhaya nezindawo ukuze balethe izinguquko ngempumelelo, ngoba ilowo kanye umsebenzi wohulumeni basekhaya. Lokho sikugcizelela ngoba labo hulumeni abasondele kakhulu, ibona bohulumeni abasondele kakhulu ebantwini. Uma sikhuluma ngokuqiniswa kohulumeni bezindawo zasemakhaya, kumele sikugcizelele ukuthi i-IFP seloku kwathi inhlo iyakwesekela ukunikezwa kwamandla ezinhlakeni eziseduze nemiphakathi kanye nokuvumelana ukuthi ukuba lolo nalolo hlanga lubuswa ngendlela ehambisana namasiko ayo. Lokho semqoka kakhulu kuhulumeni basekhaya ngoba ileyo miphakathi siqonda kangcono isimo ephila phansi kwazo. Izidingo zalowo nalowo mphakathi zincike isikakhulu kubaholi bomdabu njengoba abantu abaningi abasizabelweni bakhe ezindaweni zobuholi bomdabu. Ngakho ke siyacela kungqongqoshe ukuba anike abaholi bomdabu anike abaholi bomdabu amandla, ngoba amandla mancane okuba bafake isandla kohulumeni basekhaya, especially komasipala. Kuyamangalisa ukuthi le ngxoxo sixoxa ngesikhathi lapho kunemibiko evele ekomidini esibikela ngokusetshenziswa kwezimali okungalandelwanga umthetho komasipala. Bahlanuke omasipala abahlonzwe njengomasipala ababi kakhulu.
Honorable member, your time has expired. Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Groenewald.
Agbare huisvoorsitter, die sukses van plaaslike regering is 'n regering wat logiese benadering het met eenvoudige oplossings. Local government have two main concepts, responsive and accountable local governance as key development actors and nodal points for the delivery of services to the poor, and a vibrant civil society that includes the private sector that is enabled to play its dual role as partner in development and as countervailing force, with the capacity to demand rights, transparency and accountability. To establish responsive and accountable local government, you need ingredients to the likes of 1. Existing and quality of accountability mechanisms, institutional and organizational setups for the local governance process, improvement of local finances, and that includes the willingness of citizens to pay taxes. And lastly, mechanisms for exchange of information and dialogue. Therefore, can local governance be defined as the way in which power and authority are exercised at local level? The Freedom Plus is of view that the only way to achieve this is to bring the power and authority closer to the people through smaller community-driven municipalities. In South Africa, we lack in all ingredients. There are no to little responsiveness from any municipality, and when we look at the Auditor General's report on municipalities all over South Africa, it is found that there is little consequent management. Municipalities are not a player in development and economy, but rather the obstacle. South Africa's municipal financial management is rotten and getting worse. The best people for the job that are qualified and able prefer to work in the private sector, not because of better salaries, because in the public sector, they would have received double the norm. It is rather because they do not want the stigma of corrupt official to cling to them. Municipal expenditures does not give value to the taxpayers, and is starting to create a resistance from taxpayers to pay services. There are mechanisms in place for exchange of information, but the employees of municipalities are not willing to do the necessary to assist in giving the information. They rather send the taxpayers from one point to the next until they are fed up. Therefore, some of the municipal staff lack basic work ethics and real commitment to serve. The taxpayer is, after all, the one that pays their salaries through paying for services. Municipalities are inaccessible and unresponsive to the needs of its taxpayers. An example of this is where the Matlosana local municipality in Northwest sends service accounts to the residents that are difficult to understand and do not comply with the Consumers Act. When complaints are laid to the Consumer Commission for investigation, the Commission do not even do the effort in responding to such claims. Taxpayers that are being sucked dry by municipalities are not being treated like clients to whom a service must be rendered. They are abused and mistreated. What a disgrace that is. We can have a lengthy discussion on strengthening local government due to all the flaws and non-compliances. There are laws and prescripts in place, but according to the AG, there's a lack of political will to bring the culprits to book. Like the fact that the Minister of Kokta is not even in a house today, and that in the debate of local government. There is only one change that will bring about great improvement in local government sphere. And that one change is to remove the ANC from power. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Machau.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Local government sphere is one of the very important sphere of government. It is where the tire touches the tire. The last report by the Auditor General, Mr. Kim Makwetu, for the financial year 2017-18 reported yet another regrettable set of municipal audit results that showed an overall decline in audit results. The Auditor General made some scathing remarks lamenting the undesirable state of deteriorating audit outcomes that shows that various local government role players have been slow in implementing and in many instances even disregarded the Audit Office recommendations. Consequently, the accountability for financial and performance management continues to worsen in most municipalities. ATM awaits the 2018-19 results with trepidation given the rampant corruption in the municipalities, some of which had to be put under administration. We fully support the investigation which is done by SIUs in different municipalities, but the unfortunate situation is that no one is monitoring the recommendation from SIU offices. So the recommendations are just gathering dust in municipal manager's office or mayor's office. ATM welcomes the new amendment of the Public Audit Act, which became effective on 1st April 2019, but we are making a special plea that the sooner the better that office is capacitated, so that it has got enough personnel to roll out this amendment. Because the earlier the better that this is implemented, cutting across all municipalities, that will save us all. In addition, ATM supports the call by the Auditor General that portfolio committees should identify preventative controls and monitor them on quarterly basis. We are therefore recommending to the committee to have at least quarterly meeting with all municipal financial oversight bodies, your MPET, your audit committee, internal and external audit committee, so that it can get early warning signs on any corrupt activities that may take place in that municipalities. Again, at least once a quarter, that committee must monitor the implementation of all the recommendations from SIU. That can at least ease one of the problems the municipalities are experiencing. More stringent oversight will ensure that the public place is protected. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Pungan. Baba Pungan.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me start with the EFF. In Tswane, we're in this mess because of your unholy alliance with the Democratic Alliance. After 2016 local government election, you said you're going to choose the better devil. A white liberal party to you is the better devil. And you entered into the devil alliance with the Democratic Alliance. All because of your uncontrollable desire for power. That's when I realized that you are suffering from what we call identity crisis. In fact, they have a multiple choice of principle. You choose from A to E, E being none of the above. If I were to summarize you in a song, the relevant song for you is that of Trompies, Madibu saying, sometimes red, sometimes orange, we are Streisand. Let me come to you. That was just in passing. That was just in passing. Let me deal with the DA.
Hey, Chair. Chair. Honourable Member Khatebe. Honourable Member Khatebe.
Thanks, Chair.
Honourable Member, why are you rising?
I'm rising on a point of order, Chairperson. Because young people must quote high literature, not songs, man.
Honourable Member.
Rompisi.
Honourable Ndozi.
Quote high literature. Show us you are well read.
Honourable Ndozi.
Not Rompisi.
Salapansi.
House Chair.
That's not a point of order.
Yeah.
Salapansi.
House Chair. House Chair.
I am not shaken nor threatened.
House Chair.
There's a hand.
Yes,
Honourable Khatebe, can you please take your seat? Honourable Member.
Will a member take a question after his speech? Will a member take a question after his speech?
Yes. Yeah. No, Honourable Rose, I'm not threatened nor shaking. Yes, cause towards the concordata ehambayo. So you had to stand up and concord. Honorable Hussein, I didn't know that you can be economical with the truth. I was expecting you to stand up and tell this august house that the Honorable Minister of Cogta, Honorable Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, has taken the bull by its horn and placed the DG under suspension. In the next 2 months, we'll be appointing the new DG in the department. Secondly, we have the Cogta took a conscious decision to remodel the program. You're not telling the committee that. You are economical with the truth. Let me go back to my speech. That was just by the way.
Honourable members, give the speaker on the podium a chance.
Honorable Chair, despite enormous gains that have been made since the inception of democracy in 1994, ANC acknowledged that South Africa still faces immense challenges when it comes to service delivery. ANC, as a political party that derives its approach to state power from the Freedom Charter, has always encouraged and expected those that are deployed in public office to put concerns of the people first. In this regard, ANC expects nothing less than progressive quality service delivery. Sadly, things are not where the ANC would want them to be. Pockets of poor service delivery still continues, and the above has led to service delivery protests in municipalities like Maluti Apofong, Enoch Mgijimi, Makana Municipality, Dr. J.S. Moroka, to mention but few. Honorable Chair, Section 139 of the Constitution prescribes the manner and instances on which provincial executive may intervene in municipalities when municipal council or municipal administration fail to execute their executive obligation in terms of the Constitution or legislation, the case in Tshwane. To this end, Honorable Chair, more than 24 municipalities have been placed under administration since 2016 local government election. As the ANC dithenga isiXhosa zikhonkotha ehambayo. As the ANC, we welcome and support steps taken by provincial executive in relation to Section 139. Tough and harsh lessons are being learned along these processes. They range from weak internal controls, poor supply chain management system, poor internal audit, lack of consequence management, and lack of sound financial management. Chairperson, responding to the above challenges and dealing firmly and decisively with corruption while enhancing good and corporate governance, the Public Audit Act Amendment Bill was signed into law by His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa and was subsequently gazetted on the 29th of March 2019. The law gives the Office of the Auditor General more powers to act on officials and employees who waste taxpayers' money, as well as those who deliberately refuse to act against the culprit. Key highlights of these amendments, they range from the Auditor General now may refer any suspected material irregularities to relevant public body for investigation. The Auditor General has powers to issue remedial actions when recommendations are not implemented. The Auditor General can issue directive to accounting officers and accounting authority to determine and recover losses. Most importantly, the AG can now issue certificate of debt to accounting officers and accounting authority for repayment. The certificate of debt must also be issued to relevant legislation in this regard. This is a very clear, unequivocal message that this administration will stop at nothing in dealing firmly with corruption. Honorable Chair, since the signing of the proclamation by President Ramaphosa, more than 72 criminal cases were opened, either by municipalities and provinces with SAP and Hawks for further processing. Disciplinary action have been instituted for more than 57 forensic reports. 86 cases are already in court. Chair, poor financial management undermines the capacity of local government to provide quality to all services within residences, especially the poor. Now, let me deal with the DA. This notion that City of Cape Town is a well-governed city, it only exists in your figmentation of your imagination. Tell no lies, claim no easy victory. The last time the City of Cape Town received a clean audit was under the hands and the administration of the Honorable Patricia de Lille. Honorable Chair, for the financial year of 2018-2019, City of Cape Town recorded material under-expending on its capital budget worth 2.4 billion. On their capital budget, which is supposed to be infrastructure investment, the City of Cape Town was unable to spend 1.3 billion. Can I continue? The City of Cape Town incurred more than 900 million of irregular expenditure. These irregular expenditures were due to non-compliance with supply chain management. AG further highlighted that there were no reasonable steps taken by the City of Cape Town to prevent these irregular expenditures. You know why? Some family members of the City of Cape Town.
Are you raising a hand, honorable member? No, honorable member, have you raised? I didn't see you raising a hand. I just saw you standing. Honorable Hill Lewis.
Will the
Why-
member take a question?
Honorable member, will you take a question?
Chief, ndiyaqhuba ngoku khawume kancinci.
Okay. He will not take it, honorable member.
The reason
Honorable
why
member, Phansi.
the Auditor General further highlighted that no reasonable steps were taken to prevent this irregular expenditure, precisely because some family members of the City of Cape Town employees were awarded contracts and are doing business with the city, and they have failed to disclose such interest. Secondly, bid specifications of some tenders were drafted in a biased manner and did not allow potential supplier to offer their goods and services, which is in contravention with the bid regulation. Worst part of all is that this similar non-compliance was reported in the previous financial year. Now, it is clear that in the City of Cape Town, led by the DA, kwavula sibuqe nje thela wayeka umhlambi kaZalusi.
Honorable members, order. Do not drown the speaker, please.
I told you I was gonna expose you. There's a saying that goes, you can fool all the people some of the time and some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. Honorable Chair, we are not fabricating stories when we say DA is a white male-dominated liberal party that does not cater for the working class and the poor. In the City of Cape Town, under the DA administration, top and senior management levels are still hugely overrepresented by white males. I have got the Employment Equity Act report that speaks to that nature. Yet, according to the demographics of Cape Town, whites only constitute 15.7% of the population. But the devil is in the details. Top senior management, the report signed by the City of Cape Town indicates black females are underrepresented in this occupational level. Senior management level, African males, African females, colored females are underrepresented. The third professional level, professionally qualified middle management, African males, African females, African coloreds are underrepresented. White males show a huge degree of overrepresentation. I am not done. Skilled, technical, and academically qualified junior management. All females are underrepresented. African and Indian males are underrepresented. White males are overrepresented. Figures and numbers don't lie. Honorable Chair, in the City of Cape Town, the vacancy rate is shocking and alarming. As of the end of February 2020, the total permanent number of vacancy, fully funded posts, they were sitting at 3,424. Worth 1.5 billion. You did not fill 3,424 posts. Let me break down this post to you. 1,274 posts are in the Directorate of Water and Waste. 713 posts are in the Directorate of Safety and Security. 424 posts are in the Directorate of Community Service and Health. All these above directorates are the directorates that are meant to service the working class and the poor. Yet, you have safety and security that contributes 713 vacancy rate, while according to the latest police crime statistics, 6 out of 10 worst murder areas are in Cape Town, Nyanga and Gugulethu.
Oh, please will you take a question?
Yet you cannot
Take a
fill
question on
vacancies.
blatant lies. Won't you take a question on
Honorable
blatant lies?
Lewis. Honorable Lewis.
Won't he take a question on his blatant mistruths?
Can't. Honorable members, I cannot hear what Honorable Lewis is saying because of the noise. Could you please lower your voices? Honorable Lewis, what is your point
Won't
of
he
order?
please take a question on his blatant untruths?
Honorable Hadebe, would you take a question?
Chair Ndiyakuba, ngoku I'm going to leave this with you for ease of reference.
Please take a seat, Honorable Lewis.
Yeah, Chair. Lastly, to demonstrate the skewed allocation of resources and to demonstrate that city of Cape Town is the tale of two cities, the one for the rich and the one for the poor. In Khayelitsha and Nyanga combined with the wards, more than 12 wards, they only have 30 CCTV cameras. Compare that with only 2 wards in the city center, Ward 77 and Ward 115, with 118 CCTV cameras. Nyanga,
Thank
the
you,
number
Honorable
one
Member.
Thank
the
you.
time has expired. Honorable Papa.
Nobody accepted to take the question.
Honorable Hadebe, there was a request from Honorable Papo whether you will take a question, just a second, whether you will take a question at the end of your speech. So I just want to bring it to the attention of the House that a member cannot take a question after his speech. It can only be during his speech or not at all. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Chairperson, I really want to thank you. I want to appreciate the orientation you are giving to Comrade Hope. He doesn't learn. Comrade Hope is hopeless.
Honorable Dozie, no. You can't just stand up and say anything. Honorable
House Chair.
Honorable Papa. Honorable August.
Honorable Chair, while corruption at national departments, state-owned entities and in the criminal justice system has hogged the state capture limelight, captured municipalities have largely flown under the radar. Yet, just above every week, we read stories of the collapse of service delivery and the devastating impact this has on the day-to-day lives of ordinary South Africans, and particularly on the poor. Those of us fortunate enough to have jobs and mitigate the impacts of this service on our lives. We can afford to buy solar lighting, install water filtration systems, and employ people to pick up our trash. But those on the margins have no such shock absorbers. They live at the mercy of a system which is letting them down. Soon after establishing good, we set up a simple corruption hotline for people to report suspected irregularities. Every day, we receive new allegations about politicians and government officials more intent on lining their own pockets rather than serving the people and constitution. This information does not just relate to ANC-led municipalities, such as eThekwini, as the DA would have us believe. In the DA-led George municipality, in the Western Cape, we have seen cases of electricity theft by councillors, cadre deployment and a family member of a councillor benefiting from the transfer of municipal funds. We took this dossier to the public protector and await action from that office. In Johannesburg, we have asked the city's integrity committee to establish the reasons for the undervaluation of commercial property and loss of rates revenue. Good has proven that good governance is possible. Our leader, Patricia de Lille, has implemented practical steps in her capacity as Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure to demonstrate integrity, accountability, and transparency. In her previous position as Mayor of Cape Town, she demonstrated that constant clean audits are not unachievable. That is good governance in action. There is only one goal for local government, and that is to equip municipalities with the capacity and resources to enable effective service delivery that upholds the dignity of South Africans. Citizens are not powerless bystanders. They must use next year's vote to red card councillors, mayors, and parties lacking the honesty and integrity to pursue people's priorities. We have seen in Tshwane that the raw sewage flows from the rivers of Tshwane into the rivers of Tshwane. We have seen the wastewater treatment only works at 40%. We have seen Guyana that there's no water in Limpopo. We have seen that many municipalities
Thank you,
throughout the
Honourable
country
Member.
uses government funding for projects and EPW pay
sir.
salaries for officials. Thank you.
Honorable Sheikina.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I think what is very clear here, what we've heard today is political parties bashing each other about the challenges that we face at local government level. And it's correct that all political parties, wherever you govern, there are challenges. So coming here and insulting one at the expense of the other doesn't solve the problem. You know, coming back to what you're saying at the EFF, they are correct. And give them credit for this. When they say they will clean up the streets, they are correct, because they are ready in that overalls already. Now, they're ready in those overalls. Now remember, it's this EFF that is talking to you about the corruption, right? They are talking about it. But yet, the VBS Bank, the bankrupt state of Limpopo province, which is caused by the leadership, and let me tell you why they have a dispute with the DA. Because they want to get their hands on the resources in these areas, and that's why they're fighting the DA. That is why they're not willing to work with the DA anymore. Because remember, they didn't ask for a position of the mayor. They asked for a position of the municipal manager. Ask yourselves, why do they ask for these things? Why do they want the directors? That is the crux of the problem. But coming back to the problems we have in the country. Thank you. The solutions are as follows. There needs to be greater oversight, particularly by COCTA. You need to ensure that those you employ have the capacity and the capability to it. Highest level of integrity. The budget process should start from the ground, not a top-down approach, but from the down-top approach, so that you can listen to the needs of the people and prioritize accordingly. Let me just say something very quickly when you talk about clean and unqualified audit. More often than not, it's not even worth the paper it is written on. Because if you know how to manipulate your books, you'll get an unqualified and clean audit every year. So let us be mindful of that. If you're a master in that, you'll know how to do it. So let us not go there, but let's talk about the delivery of services to the people who need to benefit from these things. So the other thing is this we are saying is local government and the structures that are there. You are all aware of the high pricing that takes place, particularly with tenders. You need to play a role and ensure there's transparency, that the prices are market related, that not escalated 10 times and 20 times. And then there's a lot more that you can deliver to the people on the ground. So I think what it calls for, the fact that we've admitted here that there are challenges all over, let us work together and address those challenges so that we could put measures in place that will create a better society for all people.
Thank you very much. Honorable J. Opperman.
Chairperson, according to the Auditor General, the overarching reason for the continuously poor local government performance is lack of accountability, coupled with poor leadership, without any appetite and blatant disregard to implement his recommendations. Yet, at the root of this culture of non-accountability lies the Achilles heel of local government, the cantankerous culture of political patronage and cronyism called cadre deployment. If we are serious about finding a cure, we should treat the cause, not the symptoms. Reeds in 2008 het die Hooggeregshof uitspraak gelewer oor die onwettigheid en ongrondwetlikheid van kaderontplooiing. Leave to appeal was denied and no petition to appeal was ever launched, so the ruling stands. Yet the practice of cadre deployment continues unabated. But now a qualifications criteria will be implemented for the ANC loyalist on the list. What blatant disregard for the rule of law when you continue to act as if you are above the law. The state of regress and distress and dysfunctionality within local government is a national crisis. It is a national crisis when the state owes itself more than 10 billion rand. It is a national crisis when non-compliance with key legislation is at a record high since 2011-12. It is a national crisis when 24 municipalities are currently under administration, and that is nothing to brag about. It is a national crisis when 128 municipalities needs urgent national intervention. It is a national crisis when 18 out of the 257 municipalities received clean audits. And very interesting that 12 of the 18 clean audits comes from the DA-governed Western Cape. Honorable Hussein already mentioned that more than 600,000 was paid out to deceased participants still on the payroll of CWP. But even more shockingly, more than 5 million was paid to non-qualified na ander staatsdepartement.
Ek is baie jammer, mevrou. Tyd is om. Baie dankie. Honorable Gallo.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Local government is the heartbeat of service delivery in our country. It is the pulse of our creative spirit. South Africa's 44 district municipalities and 8 metropolitans must not only be strengthened, but also synergized to achieve a common purpose. The district development model is but one of the draft measures we can use to significantly improve local governance. What must underpin sound local government economic planning should be a model which will address the lack of coordination, planning, and coherence of the local government structures. To begin with, municipalities must be vetoed from making investments without the approval of the Minister of Culture. The VBS corruption has somehow taught us gainful lessons. The enforcement of the Public Audit Amendment Act must start in the local government. Municipal managers and accounting authorities must be issued with a certificate of debt in cases related material irregularity in their municipalities. The Audit Amendment Act defines what these irregularities are. We need to bolster sound and accountable local governance. In conclusion, the practice of gerrymandering, where municipal wards are manipulated to favor some political parties who have lost popular support, must be ripped on the bud. Increasing the rate at which local government performs, we must close all the loopholes in the system. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Matisha.
Thank you very much, Chair. Without doubt, the local government is extremely important to all the people of South Africa. And of course, I believe we all agree. It is there that the delivery must take place, inter alia, the issue of electricity, water supply, roads, cleanliness, etc. Now the question that I put is that happening? I want to say that in very many areas that is not the case. And we who are here, the 400 of us, are extremely lucky to be seated here, given some advantages, to really discuss this thing and say, how do we move forward to make sure that the people of South Africa are able to gain and get that which they are supposed to. But I want to say, even before I go on, Chair, that you go to some of those municipalities and you'll find that some of the mayors, etc., get higher wages than even you who are here seated. Now, what do we say? What do we do? Those are the kind of things which are there. Accountability and transparency remain the fundamental principles that ensure the proper functioning of government, administration, be it at the national or local level. Both principles are central to good governance and continue to be pivotal in ensuring that those in power discharge their functions and duties honestly and legitimately. The manifestations of poor governance include poor financial management, ill-advised appointments, and misguided patriotism in service delivery. Yes, it's just poor. Now, I therefore want to say that the majority of these things, really, this service is not happening. Why? Because of the highest levels of corruptions that are taking place at those particular levels of government. And therefore the question is, what do we do as this majority of the people who are here seated? We need to find a way and together say, what do we do to move forward and ensure that as a matter of urgency, we stop this thing from happening. I want to emphasize the majority of those people are stealing, the majority of them are getting even salaries and a whole lot of things, even more than yourselves who are seated here.
Meneer Brank.
Chair, a lot has been said here today about Section 139 of the Constitution that allows a municipal council to be dissolved and a re-election to happen if exceptional circumstances warrant such a step. There are plenty of dysfunctional municipalities, but let's consider a tale of two municipalities to see how this provision is being implemented. The Makana municipality in the Eastern Cape has a string of qualified audits, a massive Eskom debt, and a growing water crisis. The municipality has persistently refused to implement a financial recovery plan. Last year, residents of Makana had to approach the Eastern Cape High Court to get an order to force the provincial government to intervene. The court judged these circumstances in Makana to be exceptional, ordered the municipal council to be dissolved, and now it has to be re-elected. The ANC Eastern Cape government is fighting this judgment tooth and nail. In papers filed on appeal, the Eastern Cape HOD of Cocter says that Makana should not be dissolved because its collapse is not exceptional. According to the HOD, the perilous state of Makana is in fact the norm across the province and the country. What a shocking double standard is revealed when this is compared to today's decision of the ANC Gauteng government to dissolve the municipal council in Tshwane. Did I mention that Makana was governed by the ANC? In 2016, the people of Tshwane voted out the ANC. The city is only just recovering from 16 years of cadre deployment, corrupt contracts, and absolute looting and deterioration of service infrastructure. The DA-led city government has certainly made its mistakes, but compared to Makana, those are completely different in nature and extent. Unlike Makana, Tshwane has no arrear Eskom debt. It has a financial recovery plan in place. Nearly 2 billion rand in an operating deficit inherited from the ANC has been turned around. Moody's has upgraded the city 2 notches. The main problem in Tshwane is that the ANC and EFF councillors keep on breaking quorum and preventing the council from making decisions. It is this that provided the pretext for the Gauteng government to do its premature and heavy-handed intervention. Spot how the ANC is sneaking in the back door to grab back the power that it lost in the election. In Makana, the people have lived the gut-wrenching reality of 20 unbroken years of ANC rule. In Limpopo, the depositors of VBS Bank, the pensioners, know exactly what the EFF means when it says it will take direction. But in Tshwane, Mr. Chair, the DA will fight at the ballot box, and we will fight in court if necessary to keep the raiders of Makana and VBS at bay. I thank you.
Time is up. Honorable S.S. Sonia.
Honorable Chairperson, the DA should have just kept the mayor of Tshwane out of the office from doing the things that he was supposed to do in the bedroom.
Honorable Ndozi, I did not recognize you.
Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, today we are dealing with a very important debate which indeed indicative of how local government positioned in the South African governance arena. It is time for all South Africans to take strength to the fact that our forefathers have foresaw that South Africa belongs to all who live in it. That assertion has been expressed fully in a paragraph of the Freedom Charter, which is indicative of the fact that people shall govern. In governing their own interests, they ought to be respected, to be dealt with repute. An English adage, no honor among thieves. People who go together, they grab, they steal the power of the people to seek to govern big metropolitan municipalities in our country. All of those led to failure. What we see today and experience, rightfully, the government of the province of Gauteng has taken that stolen power away from the two who thought they have that right. Aibiwe power. Ipower ilwelwa kwiballot. Siyanibona ke niyalinikwa elo lungelo echatshalazini. Kuthiwa insuku enizinikwayo zingamashumi kuphela. Hamba nozilungiselela. Nibuye nibone into ba ukhongolose uhlale hleli. It is indeed within that strain of observation how you have faltered in governing a city of Tshwane. You're faltering, deliberately stealing from the people of the municipality, in Tshwane municipality, through your own actions. We are here to give that account.
Honorable Somyo, can you take your seat, please? Honorable members, the volume of interjections and heckling or interruptions must not prevent a member from being heard. I cannot hear what he is saying because of the level of noise. Could you please please.
Chair, sorry, I rise on a point of order. Chair, I just want to assure you, you missed absolutely nothing.
Come again.
Chair, when you said you couldn't hear the member, I just want to assure you that you missed absolutely nothing.
Order, Chair. Order.
Honorable members.
Order.
Honorable Zolo, can you take a seat, Honorable Somyo?
Yeah, Honorable Chair, we cannot accept what is being said across because it is an insult. Despite the fact that we can talk about the noise, you cannot undermine other members when they are standing and talking and say, you have missed nothing. That is being racist. That
Honorable
is being
Zolo.
undermining. You should never do that
Honorable
again.
Minister, honorable members, can we allow the debate to flow uninterrupted? I said heckling is allowed, but not at a point where it is disturbing. Please, can you continue, honorable
Chair.
member?
House Chair.
Tshwane municipality
House Chair.
only spent 40% of its own capex.
Honorable Somyo, honorable...
But Chairperson, the truth is that he didn't say anything and he said it with a lot of confidence. That
honorable member, could you
That's
please
the
take
reality.
your seat?
You really didn't miss anything.
Honorable Ndozi.
And for the next 5 minutes, we will also miss nothing.
Dala phansi. Honorable Somyo.
Tshwane municipality spent only 40% of its capex so far, according to National Treasury reports. National Treasury is contemplating taking away about 3 billion rand unspent on human settlements and transport grants from Tshwane. The biggest irregular expenditure has been reported to Tshwane to the value of 2 billion rand. Half of that amount has been spent already on a contract that goes to a cited individual who is a beneficiary of that amount. Already 3 mayors in 42 months were appointed by the Democratic Alliance in Tshwane municipality. Is that stability which you are crying for? Atteridgeville is the dirtiest township as we speak, which initially has gained acclamations for its own performance on cleanliness because it is in the hands of the Democratic Alliance. Winterfeld in Tshwane.
Order.
Winterfeld in Tshwane is currently with no electricity for a period of 12 months, where You ruled. Hammanskraal. Hammanskraal. Where you don't know where it is. It is in
Honorable
Tswana.
members,
Where you
honorable
ruled.
members,
And
Honorable Somyo,
there's
better
been no
address me.
water.
Better address me, sir. Honorable members, please, I'm appealing to you again not to drown the speaker on the podium. Honorable member on the podium, address the chairperson. Thank you. You can continue, sir.
Yes, indeed. There's no honor among thieves. Today, they'll be together, and tomorrow, they will run to kill one another. That's what we see between them. In Gauteng, they're talking about CWP. In Gauteng, where they ruled, they appoint 1,500 police officers whom they take for training, and they give them guns, and they've received a training which is not accredited, and that has to be inherited by the ANC. That is in Johannesburg.
Honorable member, there's a point of order. Honorable Lewis, why are you rising?
Will he take a question?
Member, will you take a question?
I'll take the question after I've finished.
Thank you, honorable member. You can continue, sir. Honorable Shubamba.
House Chair, the presiding officer.
Can you take
on
a
a point
seat,
of
Honorable
order, yes.
Somya?
The presiding officer that was there, I don't remember whether it was you or someone else, just said now that the rules says that you cannot take a question after the speech. You can only take it during the speech. And you ask this member to take a question. He says he's going to take it afterward.
No.
And honestly speaking, he's not coherent. You can't understand what he's saying.
Honorable Shivambo, can you please take your
And
seat?
maybe the question could guide him in terms
Honorable
of what he
Shivambo,
must say.
take your seat. Take your seat, please. And let the member continue. Honorable Somya.
JMPT has about 5.7 billion rand as a budget. The entire budget, yonke lo mali, has no contract against it. But it's spent. It's spent. You look into how the DA has performed in Johannesburg. 5,000 people ought to be serviced on emergency-related services. Budgeted amount with only 5 fire engines to service 5 million people. You pay upfront 177 million rand. You never received the goods you have purchased. And now you're an ethical organization. No, man, tell us something else. Not this DA. Well, colleagues.
Order, honorable members.
Colleagues, we are led.
Honorable member, you are shouting too loud.
We are led by the fact that you must hide nothing from the people. Hide nothing from the people. The ANC is the custodian of the Constitution. We acknowledge Section 41C, which says, I quote, all spheres of government and all organs of state within each sphere must provide effective, transparent, accountable, and coherent government for the Republic as a whole. It is through this that we have encouraged the formation of ward committees in every municipality. The ANC has done so effectively, and you can go to any DA-led municipality. They shy away from the formation of such institutions because they are afraid to have our people in the center of delivery of services of local government. The ANC appreciates participatory democracy and calls on government to strengthen ward committees so that they are able to play a strategic role in society. The exclusion of community in planning and development leads to unnecessary tensions between community and those who are in power. These committees are an institutionalized channel of communication and interaction between communities and municipalities. Community members must at all material times be encouraged to take opportunity to express their needs, their opinions on issues affecting their lives, and to have them heard at municipal level via the ward councillors. They must play an important role in giving meaning to the notion of the people shall govern, as local government is regarded as the level of government closest to the people. Chairperson, traditional leaders must be involved on issues affecting their people, particularly when government implements a local government program focusing on service delivery and infrastructure. The ANC calls on traditional leaders to voice their concerns on legislation that they think is not in line with their traditions, as they have always done so. The ANC is not saying all is well. It acknowledges the challenges local government is going through and is dealing with them decisively. That's why we have the SIU, which does investigations in the areas that have been identified in corruption. 6 years ago, a Khayelitsha Commission of Inquiry into policing in the township was launched. This commission of inquiry found a lack of adequate street lights contributed to crime in the area. Sadly, in the city of Cape Town's 62.5 million to spend on public lighting in the 2019-20 financial year, Khayelitsha, where a lack of lighting had been highlighted as a risk to safety, is not getting any lighting as we speak. While in Tshwane Metro, service delivery is at a standstill due to democratic alliances and competency.
Thank you, Honourable
that led to the resignation of the mayor. Thank you very much.
Question. What about my question?
Honourable Mpumza.
You wouldn't take my question. You must still take my question.
The time is up, Honourable Member. Honourable Mpumza.
Mandibulele kwakhona Sihlalo. Indeed, Honorable Hussein, we as the African National Congress, I have indicated that we have done an assessment and arrived at a point that indeed there are challenges. That's why we are bringing in here the district development model. You are highlighting that we can't, after 25 years, be still indicating that we are bringing this model, whilst there are no services in some areas, in municipalities and in South Africa. May I remind you that the fact that there are still no services in some areas in the country are an outcome of your policies of segregating and excluding citizens of South Africa from access to services by your own party. And indeed, Honorable Oppermine, the district development model is underpinned by the capabilities of accountability, that systems and structure that would put in place would ensure that accountability is prime in actually implementing this particular program. And we are of the view as the ANC that perhaps it would be important, listen, it would be important to indicate to you, Honorable Brink and Honorable Groenewald, that the ANC is combat ready in terms of its national democratic revolution to liberate, listen, to liberate you guys from the siege psychosis that is imprisoning you of supremacy. So that's why you can't understand this district development model that is underpinned by democratic principles of allowing communities to fully participate in the affairs of their own. So because you are rules-based, you are still thinking in the form of controlling people not to actively participate in the affairs of their own. The Honorable Makau, maybe that if you were consistent in your committees, you would be understanding now that the SIU is being monitored. And the SIU has actually in the inaction brought a progressive report that there are a number of referrals that were cited here by Honorable Beggy, that indeed the law is biting on the thieves. And the law is going to bite on the thieves. And that is part of this district development model in ensuring that clear strategies of anti-corruption plan would be in place and be rolled out in the area of the district development plan to ensure that there is stability in government and to ensure that there is integrity in the functioning of government. Ndifuna ukuniqinisekisa apha ukuba ke awuva iintsimbi zisakhala okokuba le ndlela siza nayo ndithe lulwamvila lokuncothula zonke iimbandezelo ezibamba lo rhulumente we-ANC okokuba fikele abantwana. The ANC izaqhuba ngale model ukwenzela ukuba abantu bake eMzantsi Afrika bakholelwe bayiphindise elawulweni. Enkosi.
Honorable members, we have been all well behaved today. Thank you very much. That concludes the debate of this subject and the business for the day. The House is adjourned.
Thank you for your euphemism.